Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, welcome to the day 7th of our Writer Summit. Today, we are going to be looking at master the skill in editing any writing. And I remain my humble self, your moderator for the day, Maureen Poe. Today's topic will be facilitated by Charles Ayebisi. He has been on the program already, and some of us have met him, but I would like to run a brief intro about his person. He's a pharmacy student, a writer, a copywriter, a web designer based in Lorraine. He's a team leader at Edu Fortress Africa, where he trains young Africans to leverage technology to bridge the knowledge, skill, and mentality gap created by the dilapidated education system of the third world Africa. He has worked for over 8 years as a freelancer, a freelance writer, and a web designer for businesses and brands of Fiverr, Upwork, and across different social media platforms. He co-authored Beauty for Ashes with Jennifer Peterson in 2018 and released his maiden book titled How Dare You? Deliberate Mental Rebellion for the Ultimate Generation. Earlier this year, in his journey as a freelancer, Charles had written some of the top businesses and brands across the world, such as London Online Motor Company of America, Running Shoes UK, Pinnacle Jewels India, and the Symbolic International in the US. He has also had a monthly mentorship and accountability program called the Midas Pen, Turn Your Words into Gold, where he pushes writers to publish selling books on the Amazon Kindle. PLR articles selling aggressively seeks clients and close deals, and to leverage their skills to dominate niches. The December edition of the Midas Pen will be posted
All right. Good evening, everybody. I didn't hear the end of that introduction, so I guess we're starting now. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're
You're back.
starting. Please go right ahead. Thank you, sir. You're
All
welcome.
right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me again. Thank you for this very important opportunity. And I want to welcome everybody once again. And I hope we will be able to share, just rub some ideas in the next couple of minutes. We have less than an hour left. Okay. So once again, my name is Charles Ayegbusi, and I talk to writers, I teach writers, I work with writers. Over the course of the past couple of years, and today we're going to be talking about something very vital. You see me looking away from the camera sometime because I actually have a slide prepared. So I'll be looking at it for cues, and then so that we don't go off track, because this is a technical part of what it takes to actually be a writer. So I'll be looking away. It's just my slide. It's not that I'm not paying attention to you. Okay. All right. So today we'll be looking at editing. And I took a bit of a liberty to edit the topic that was given to me. And I'm calling this Editing Masterclass, the art of removing the dross from the silver. You see, writing, the last time I said something about everybody being a writer in one form or the other. However, writing goes beyond just putting down your thoughts. There are technicalities to making the writing enticing, to making it work the way you want it to work. Let's use a very good example. Everybody can cook. Yes, everybody can cook. Some people cook poison, but everybody can cook nasty food, right? Some people will cook and you'll be like, oh, is this food? There must be something that is out of place, right? And some people just know how to cook something simple, right? Straight to the point. Nobody make a chop, nobody make a belly full, you know, that kind of cooking. But we have specialists, those who put these things together for a particular audience, right? We have people who cook for certain people on certain diet. You get the point. So that is why editing becomes very, very important, because it's what positions your body of work or the body of work of your client to suit the audience and to achieve the purpose, right? If you want to stamp your authority, you must be a good editor. Or rather, you must understand what it takes to edit a piece of work to the point of mastery. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And first, I'm going to share about the life cycle of any written piece of work. You see, there are 4 stages to writing or to releasing a piece of work. Number 1, the point of writing. A lot of writers just jump. Once I've written it, then I go straight to showing people. I go straight to publishing. I go straight to maybe putting it up on my social media or wherever I put my writing. This is a very big error, because writing has its own life cycle. I said number 1 is writing. From writing, you move on to editing. Editing is one in the life cycle of a piece of work, written piece of work, is proofreading. And then lastly, you now put it out for intended use. At a point, I'm going to differentiate between editing and proofreading, but just tag along with me. What is the whole process of writing? The whole process of writing involves dumping everything you know or you want to say on that topic to that audience at that particular time. I'm going to take that again. I call it dumping. It's like dumping everything you want to say to that audience at that particular time. Right? So that's writing. A lot of people write and edit at the same time. It stifles creativity. It puts you in a box. So the good thing to do, the best practice, is to put everything down. It may not be as chronological, it may not be as organized as you want, but just put it down that way first. All right, so that is the whole beginning of writing. The next thing you want to do is to edit. This involves what goes into what turns that body of work into the stuff of legends. This involves what separates the boys from the men, right? Everybody can write, but not everybody can edit. Editing is the skill. Editing takes time. Editing takes mastery, right? And that is what makes the normal bloggers from the real ones that get
We apologize for the break in transmission. We're all welcome. Our facilitator will be back in a while. We're just taking a short break, so kindly bear with us while we work on that.
all right. Oh, sorry. It was network. I was out for talk in the country. I apologize. Threw me a bit off my tone, but we'll just continue from there as if nothing happened. So I was trying to explain the life cycle of a piece of work of a write-up. All right. And we said you have writing, you have editing, you have proofreading, and then you have intended use, right? Just in that order. Now, I was explaining what proofreading is all about. Proofreading has to do with the final point of removing all errors from your work. Now, what is the difference between editing and proofreading? A lot of people put them together. So when you say, okay, I want you to edit my work, or I want you to proofread my work, people think it means the same thing. An editor is somebody who does creative thinking, who works along with the writer and shares the burden of the writer, shares the passion of the writer. We'll get to a point where I'm going to talk about that in details. All right. Now, what are the differences between editing and proofreading? First, editing is done all through the process of writing. How do I mean? Let's say you're not writing an article, you're writing a book, right? Which I always pay a lot of attention to. Editing is done all through the process of writing it. How? From the point of the first draft, editing starts, right? While proofreading only is done only at the end, where all editing is completed, where you say, okay, now we have the piece of work we want to put out there. Just make sure there are no errors. Make sure, what I mean is, their punctuations are properly done. There are no grammatical errors. All the tenses are correct. That is the work of proofreading, and it is done on the final draft when you're ready to release your work. Number two difference: editing deals with the core features of write-up. Editing deals with the core features of the write-up. It looks at the plot. If it's a story, it looks at the plot. It looks at the characters. It looks at the narration. It looks at how the whole thing, smooth transition, right? That's what editing is all about. Editing goes beyond just saying, okay, I want to know what you think about my work. What you think about my work for an editor is a lot of thought. It does as much work, if not more work, than the writer. Now, imagine you're the editor of your piece that you wrote. So that means you're doing double the work. At the point of editing, you're going back to check your story. One thing I'm going to tell you, if you're going to be a good editor, never fall in love with your body of work too much. That's the first rule of editing. Because at the point of editing, you want to match the tone of the write-up with the purpose of the write-up. If it doesn't match, a lot of work has to be done. That means a lot of things you've written will be taken off, right? The editor, or you as an editor, have to understand ruthlessness as the soul of the business, right? The soul of the business of editing is ruthlessness. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, you have to execute editing very ruthlessly. Nothing that shouldn't make it there should make it there just because, oh, the statement sounds nice, or I suffered a lot while I was writing it. Your audience doesn't care. The most important thing is that you do a good job, you present the best that you can to your audience or to your client or whatever purpose you're writing for. Now, I said editing deals with the core features of the write-up, while proofreading deals with the surface things. Surface things like just make sure the tenses are correct, make sure the comma is at the right place, make sure full stop, make sure paragraphing is obeyed, and all of that. So that is the work of proofreading. Now, the major purpose of editing is to improve readability, is to improve transitions, is to give an experience, right, to a reader. Let me tell you something about writing that maybe a lot of authors or writers don't know. When you read a piece of work, it's like you're going on a mental but virtual journey with the writer. How? A good piece of work must capture attention, it must capture emotion, right? And it must be enjoyable. Attention, emotion, enjoyable. I mustn't be struggling to read. I must not be sweating profusely when I'm reading, right? I don't need a dictionary. If I need a dictionary to read your work, when it is not medical journal, right? So all those things are what needs to be done properly when you're editing. Now, proofreading, it just deals with spellings, punctuations, grammatical expressions, all those little details. Another difference, editing improves the overall quality of the work, while proofreading only removes the error in the work. Editing improves the overall quality of the work, while proofreading only removes error from the work. Last point I'm going to talk about. There are a lot of differences. If you Google, you're going to see a lot more. But these are the ones I've experienced personally, right? That I'm giving it out here. Special skill is needed if you're going to edit work. You don't need any special skill to proofread as long as you understand English. All right. Now, what are the things that you should do if you are an editor or you want to edit a piece of work? I will try as much as possible not to make this academic. So there are no series of steps like that. Just like when somebody asks you, how do I become a writer? There are no maybe ironclad rules. You get what I'm saying? There are no ironclad rules to writing. Same with editing. It depends on the type of work you're editing. It depends on if you were the one who wrote the piece. It depends on the audience you're presenting to. And it also depends on your level of skill to do this work. So I will just go through the main things that has to be checked, or the main process you may need to go through. Number one, before you start editing any piece of work, either it's yours or you're editing for somebody, the first thing you should do is to take your time to read through it. Understand the concept, understand the tone, understand the intent, understand the audience. In fact, at the end of just going through the work, you should be able to come up with a theme for it. Maybe not the title. Sometimes the title is not the title. Okay, I know. I hope that's not that doesn't sound too somehow. Sometimes the title you gave it at the beginning, you realize as you write it, the title kind of evolves, right? Or your client already gave you the work and said proofread, or sorry, edit this work for me and all of that. And you saw the body of work as you read through, something hits you that the title doesn't capture it properly, or the title is not enchanting enough, right? You kind of see that evolution happen. And then your work as the editor is to suggest and edit even to the title, edit even to the subtitle or anything like that. You understand what I'm saying? So go read through the work, first understand it. First try to put yourself somehow in the whole scope of the work. That's the first thing. The second stage of editing is to beat your content into shape, beat your write-up into shape. This is what I mean here. This is the point where you equalize the tone and the intent. Okay, let me give you an instance of equalizing tone and intent. If I'm writing something to inspire, there's some words I will use that will change the tone to make it inspirational. Some people say they write inspirational, but you see the weak motivation adjectives they use. You already know this person is either not a good writer or did not have a good editor. You get what I'm saying? So you must equalize tone with intent. How? I want to I'm going to give another example. I want to entertain. There are words I use that make people to relax, that make people laugh easily. All right. And then this is where you must have gone through your work very well. So you already know the audience. At this point, you want to check these statements that were made. Okay, this is very important. I'm going to tell you a story. All right. I'm going to try to tell you something about writing for different audiences. Now, I said beating into shape means you're looking at the audience and you're trying to look at the tone if it addresses the audience properly. Now, if you write for audience, an audience outside of the country, or you write for clients outside of the country, if you write to American audience, it's kind of apart from the fact that their English is different from British English, the way you compose your words is it's kind of loose. You don't need, there are not too much it's not too formal, it's kind of informal. In fact, once you sound too formal, the American gets bored, right? But the British, you must sound formal. You must, everything must be, you don't say words like the S word, the F word. You get what I'm saying? However, with the Americans, that's even encouraged, right? Especially if you just write into a general audience. That it flows more with them. It flows more with their freedom kind of mentality. You get what I'm saying, right? So, but when you're writing for the British audience or for an audience like a Nigerian formal audience, there are ways you must put your words. There must be decorum. There must be some level of order in your work, because the tone must meet the intent and must address the audience. It sounds technical, but really it's not. The more you do it, the more you just take advantage of these things, the easier it becomes. Number three is, okay, before I move to number two, we're still on number two, beating into shape. This is also the point where you check facts. Sometimes you're writing and you present a data. You want to be sure that this data is correct. This data has a source. If possible, reference it. All the stories you try to use, make sure they are real stories, or even if they are fictionalized, right? Make sure that there is a form of proof, so that at the end of the day, you don't use a story that somebody told that was wrong or that was fake, right? You get what I'm saying? Make sure all the facts that you presented are checked. Make sure all assertions are properly put in place. You separate. This is the point where you discover all that, so that the flow is consistent, so that the points you're trying to put across is it comes in a pattern. Then the next thing is this, which a lot of people, especially new writers, don't understand. Entertain the audience, no matter how serious.
We're having a bit of a challenge with network over there with our facilitator. Kindly bear with us while we take a short break. Hello, we're still together. Can you kindly indicate your presence? Francisca, I saw you a while ago. Audience in the house, if you can hear me, kindly indicate your presence so I facilitate our news. You are following. Good evening, everyone. If you can hear me, let me see your comment on the comment section, letting me know that you're actually following today's session. Am I alone in the studio?
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Sorry.
Thank you,
This network.
Patricia. Thank you. Please, audience in the house, let us know you're following. Kindly indicate your presence so our facilitator knows you're following. Thank you so very much. Kindly proceed. Over to you. Oh, it seems it's all over.
Up my
Amaya Francisca, thank you.
broadcast.
Kindly proceed, Mr. Charles. I think we have a bit of a challenge over there with our facilitator. I only saw 2 persons. I know we have challenges with our network, but please let the audience, other audience in the house, aside Patricia and Francisca that have indicated their presence, let me know you're with us and you're following. Let me see a comment on the comment section. Please make me smile, make me smile. I'm not seeing your comments making me frown. This is not my real face, so. Yes, 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 yes. Who do we have there? Thank you very much, Francisca. Patricia. Patricia, thank you. Thank you. No, I'm scared. Don't tell me that of all the persons that registered for this course, it's only 3 persons that are in the house tonight. I'm heartbroken. Right, I'm seriously heartbroken. Can't believe that. We paid for the sessions, but we don't make it to class. Or is it that we like the post videos more? We don't like the live classes? Our facilitator will be back in a bit. Kindly take over. Mr. Charles, over to you.
Okay. Oh, I thought I met a conversation.
No, we're waiting for you. Kindly proceed.
Okay, I know what it's really. I just God helps us to get trying to put tonight. But one sure the slide for this presentation is going to be if I hope we're still together. Okay, okay. Somebody said we're still following. All right. Now I entertain the audience as the next point after beating it into shape. Entertain the audience. What I mean by this, it's add the necessary swag to your work. Necessary swag, how? This addresses an audience, right? Your write-up is always a letter to an audience. What do you want to achieve with them? Already that should have come in your body of work. However, how would they like to be served? What are their preferences? What examples would they prefer that they can relate to it, right? What are they Gen Z, right? Generation Z? Are they boomers, right? And another thing is, what is their reality like? What are their professions? How deep are their pockets? What kind of gadgets do they use? All this goes into, or you want to call it something on a to storyfy your piece of work. Give stories. We all like gist. I mean, you know, like gist. We all like gist. We all we all like to be told something that happened. Either it's real or it was fiction. We just like some make sure it's related to the point you're trying to make, the point you're trying to buttress, or what you're trying to connect it with. So storyfy your piece of work. Make it something somebody want to pick up because they read a story in it, because they another thing you can do to stop, look for pictures. Look for examples, things that relate to that, make it that spice it up. You know, it's just like cooking. I related to cooking when we started, and spicing it up in writing terms means you give it all the condiments that memorable. You want it to inspire, educate, instruct, entertain, or whatever you want it to be, but you want it to be memorable. You want them to remember your name. You want them to remember that article, or you want them to remember your client's name so that your clients can come back. And the last thing is give it beauty in every way. Use your table. That takes a lot of work, that takes a lot of conviction as you're working. Number 4, you know, I said number 1, read through a couple of times, make sure you understand it well. Number 2, beat it into shape. Make sure it's just the best. Then number 3 is entertain the audience, put the gloss on it, make it nice, make it look good, really good, make it presentable. Number 4 is be ruthless. You wondering, but we beat it to shape before. No. When I mean be ruthless, what I'm saying is remember something. In the temple of writing, the editor is the chief priest. The editor is the chief priest. And the write-up is like a sacrifice. And it cannot be in the write-up holy. You get what I'm saying? So being ruthless means, okay, we've added all the gloss and everything. Now we want to proofread. We want to put everything in shape, right? Even after we've added the gloss, we want to make sure we sharpen even the gloss that we added. The story you just added, the swag you just put on it, you pass it through that scrutiny again to make sure that this that is going out is solid gold and nothing else. Now, a few more points, because we'll be rounding up the session soon so that we can have questions. One thing, I'm going to get a bit practical about the things I do to improve my work as an editor, or as somebody who edits his own work and also edits for some people, associates, friends, and clients. The first thing I do to make a piece of work much better is to remove weak descriptions. I remove weak descriptions. For instance, you say, oh, I had a very nice day. Yeah, very nice. That's weak. I had an outstanding day. You get the point. I make it bold. I make it decisive, right? Every adjective you're going to use to describe something, make it decisive. So that's what we mean by remove weak descriptions. Something like very big, you use huge. Something like really bad, use terrible. Something like, oh, that exam was very tough. No, that exam was unbearable. That exam was it was crushing. You get what I'm saying? Instead of, oh, I feel very sad. You use something like at least you're getting what I'm saying, right? Instead of very sad, oh, I'm shattered, right? I use one word to remove all the weak phrases that could damage the integrity of the work. So that's what a good editor does. It looks for weak descriptions and strengthen them, replace them completely. Number two, keep it simple. I will explain this very, very well. This is the era of social media. Attention span keeps reducing. So when you're writing, gone are the old-fashioned days when you see chunky, bulky paragraphs. Your articles, your books are not study textbooks. They're not study materials for law, pharmacy, or medicine. So you want to make sure you make it as easy as possible for your audience. So one thing a good editor does is to keep it simple. In fact, they call it KISS. Keep it short and simple. KISS. Keep it short and simple. The KISS approach. What it means is that every sentence that is too long, you reduce it. Paragraphs shouldn't be more than three, four sentences, and these sentences, none of them should be up to 20 words. Once you have 15, 16 words in a sentence, you're already going too far. So use short sentences. When you're talking to somebody, do you just go on and on and on and on and on and on without pausing, without breaking? No. The best writers write like they talk. Just put this down somewhere. The best writers write like they talk. If you can just imagine seeing somebody in front of you that you're talking to, that audience that you're targeting. If you see them, how will you talk? Would you just be ranting and ranting? No command, no full stop, no, definitely not. So keep it short and simple. Short sentences, short paragraphs. This will encourage people to read your work right to the end, especially if it is very entertaining or if it is well presented. We've talked about two things now. Time going. I'm going to stop right when it is 15 minutes. Number three is that you try as much as possible as an editor to break redundancies. How? You know, as Nigerians, we're the ones who call, we don't have one word for something. So we tend to use a lot of words to express ourselves. How? In Nigeria, I will tell you, meaning therefore that is a redundancy, or those are redundancies. Meaning therefore that, right? When you see things like that, you begin to cut. Short knicker, you know that's tautology, right? Short is short, a knicker is a knicker, right? Depending on the audience you're talking to. All right. So redundancies are statements that are not necessary. Something like I had a really good day. Remove really, put good. If really good doesn't work, I had an outstanding day, right? you've just removed the redundancy and you have removed the weak description at the same time. So break redundancies. Make sure that they have a smooth reading, right? You can see the way I did my hand. Make sure it is smooth, right? For your audience to read through your work. So break redundancies for them. Number four now. Remove the passive tone from your work as much as possible. At the end of this, I'm going to suggest some software that you can use to achieve these things easily as an editor, but maybe let me get a bit ahead of myself. There is no software that can edit like a human can. Yes, I know there's artificial intelligence and all of that, but because of the nature of writing, because of the creativity that comes with it, the software that are available may not be able to, right, think the way a human can think. Even if your audience, or rather, even if your software know what you're trying to write, the intent and everything, they may not understand your audience the way you do. They can't. The human connection is still important. So be aware that even though there's software that can help you in editing, that can help you in proofreading, there's nothing that beats the creativity, the ingenuity of the human mind. Now, let's continue. I said number 4 is to remove passive tone. What do I mean by passive tone? Some of us are fond of writing like, Ben is loved by Sarah. It was so person is the use of past tense when you're writing. Always watch for that. Instead of saying Ben is loved by Sarah, Sarah loves Ben. It was Sarah that dropped it. Sarah dropped it. The active tone will put the subject at the beginning, will make the subject the point of emphasis, right? So that is, I don't know how best to explain this, but as much as possible, avoid using past tense for something that is present continuous or something that is reported speech. Yes, it's something that has happened or something still happening, but as much as possible, shorten the statement and put the subject right in front of what you're trying to describe. All right, I hope we get this. If you need more, explanation, please let us know so that I can try to shed as much light on it as possible. But one good thing about being an editor is this: the more you edit, the more you get better. Same thing with being a writer. A writer is somebody that writes. If you're not writing, you're not a writer. It's not good enough to say, okay, I'm a writer. A writer is somebody who writes. You get what I'm saying, right? I'm sure you get it. So the most important thing about this whole session is to put this into practice by going ahead to edit some work maybe that you've done before, and use these things, right, as yardsticks to check. Can I make this work better by removing redundancies, by keeping it simple, keeping it short and simple, by removing weak descriptions, by removing passive tone? And you will see how much better that piece of work can get. Number 5, avoid unnecessary punctuations. This is a killer, guys. Trust me. If the word becomes way too punctuated, everywhere you go, you can see comma. Everywhere you go, you see colon, you see semicolon. Now, why be that, right? So make sure as much as possible that you allow your readers to read smoothly. Do not put commas everywhere around your work like you get some award for that, right? Use as little punctuations as possible, as short a statement as possible. You see what I'm saying? That editing is not really as complicated if you understand the simple task. Keep it simple. Reduce punctuations, reduce the length of words, reduce redundancies, right? Reduce the passive tone. Once you know these little things, your piece of work will come out much bolder, much stronger, with much conviction. You know, That's basically what writing is all about. People want to be sure that you know what you're saying, and you want to come out with a strong voice. You want to come out with a bold voice, and that's exactly what editing does for you. Read with prejudice. Proofread with prejudice is the last point in editing a piece of work. Proofread with prejudice. I said something earlier. As an editor or as a writer, do not fall in love with your piece of work so much that you don't submit it to real scrutiny before you release it. Okay, how will I make this now? You're a writer, you're an editor, you're not the consumer of your good, right? So you must put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. They don't care how much time you put into it. They want to gain value from what you've written, what you've released. So you want to make sure that they get maximum value. And to get maximum value, sometimes you have to do away with a lot of things you've wrote painfully, right? Imagine, okay, let me give an instance. It's about 800 so that you can, and then when you're reading through, you notice that, oh, you were splitting bars. You know when a writer is splitting bars, it was one point after another, you were landing the nail on the head. However, you want to reduce the word count so that you don't bore your audience. Number one, once you just split it, who will go? You have to chop them off. You have to make the argument stronger. You have to reduce the content. Editing, most of the time, if not all of the time, reduces content volume. Yeah, that's very important that you know. So most times when I do editing and I did not remove some large chunks of my work, I begin to ask myself, are you sure you've done a good job? Or you love this work so much that you are not doing a good job? All right. So proofread with prejudice. There are no margin for errors. If you write for somebody, if you write for a client, by now you know it is an unforgivable offense to submit a work for a client or to an audience and then it is reading with error or even just one error. I've worked with Maureen before for the past couple of years. She knows that there is no margin for error when you're working with clients, especially for those of you who are into freelancing or you want to go into it. The competition is stiff for errors. So how won't you get margin for error? As a human being, you're error prone, especially if you were the one that wrote it. Most times when you read it, I'm sure you read what's already errors. After you've done all your beaten into shape and you've added the gloss and the work is looking really, really nice, really presentable, the meal is ready to be served. The last thing you must do is to run it through a proofreading software. I always recommend, as a rule of thumb, go with Grammarly Premium. Go with Grammarly Premium. There are others, there are other fantastic ones, but I will still recommend Grammarly Premium for proofreading because it doesn't just do proofreading for you. It tries to mimic the work of an editor. It suggests edits to your tone, edits to your writer may not have the budget to pay for Grammarly Premium. So what we do is that we do group buy, where as a group you have an account for a couple of people that I know that do a lot of writing work. They have an account, like a company account that they use to write. So all of them have a password to it and they can edit their work in that place. All right. So make sure that you proofread your work with extreme prejudice, no margin for errors. And this can be done using software such as Grammarly Premium, or you can Google alternatives that you can use. There are a lot of them. Let me check. I'm sure I have some of them that you can use that I've discovered. But like I said, if it was me, I stick to Grammarly Premium. Let's see. I know editing software. I know I've actually picked out some software for let's say journalism. I'm with you. I'm just checking through them, and I will. Okay, sorry, this is taking long. Maybe it's because of the network. I don't know, but I don't want to leave without giving a couple of alternatives to Grammarly Premium. So just stay with me, and you can check them out, right? You can check them out. I wish I could leave a link for you to check them out so that I'll do you. There's AutoCrate, there's Consistency Checker, which is a free software, all right? There's Draft. So just write them down, check for them. There is Grammarly. I've told you about Grammarly. There is Hemingway Editor. Hemingway comes very, very close to Grammarly. I will not lie to you. I've actually tried it before, and it's really, really good. I did their sample. What they call it again? They do a 1 month where you actually get to use the premium version for free. Like you're testing their product, right? I tested it and it was really, really nice. There's Master Writer, there's Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid is also really good. Pro Writing Aid. So Hemingway, Pro Writing Aid, this I recommend. There's Smart Edit. I've never used that. There's WriteMonkey and a couple of others that you can use. However, remember what I said. To be a good editor, your first go-to is your mind. Nothing, no software can have your ingenuity. No software can know your audience the way you do. And lastly, no software can add that level of creativity or that dimension of human contact, right? Human connection to your work like you can do it. So even though I use this software sometimes to get ideas and to see how I can make my work better, I still stick to my gut. Yes, I'll do grammar check, like I'll do my check of grammar and to make sure that there are no grammatical errors, there are no punctuation errors. Number two, I'll do my plagiarism check, right? And then number three, I will bring back the work and read again to see how I can make it better for myself. So guys, it's been 1 hour. Thank you so much for having me again. And I apologize for the network. This is Nigeria. A lot of things are not going well. We pray that things will get better. But one thing I want you to do is to take full advantage of this program, push yourself, build streams of income from your ability to write or your willingness. Let me not call it ability, from your willingness to learn, to invest in yourself this much. If you're watching this program, you're spending your data, you must have maybe paid for the program, right? And you're consistent with it, you're spending your time. So make sure you make it count by taking action. The most important thing, the conveners of this program and every facilitator, the most important thing for them is to see you actually use these things to your advantage, to your benefit, so that one day you can return back and say, oh, I attended this bootcamp, I attended this conference or this summit, and that was when my writing game changed, because I could now monetize better. I could get better clients. I know what to do to improve my work, my craft as a writer, and of course, to improve my earnings as a writer. Thank you very much. I hope the moderator is around. I'm done. I'm good. Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
thank you so very much, Mr. Ayebusi. Thank you. God bless you real good for that wonderful piece. Wouldn't have gotten this much without you here. For all your effort, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so very much. It is time for questions and answers. Audience in the house, if you have any question or questions, you can just send them now. Let's see them on the comment section. So our facilitator would attend to them while he's still in the house. So let's just do that in the next 2-3 minutes. And then we'll round up for the day. While we wait for the questions to drop, I'd like to appreciate everyone in the audience for sticking out even when we had the glitch over there, the challenge with the network. You still remained in the audience. We appreciate that. And like our facilitator had mentioned, we sincerely hope that we all will make the best of this summit. That we are spending our time here shouldn't just be that we just want to be here. Let it be known that I attended that summit, but let it be worth the while. Let the effort count. It's going to be more fruitful if we get to hear your stories tomorrow. I actually published this book after the summit and all. Questions from the audience, can you hear us? I would like also, okay, we have something. Thanks so much to the facilitator for tonight's session, Amaya Francisca Eneye. Thank you. That's for you, Mr. Charles.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, do we have questions on editing? We all know that editing actually is a vital aspect of writing as a whole. We cannot just do without that as writers. You cannot write without editing. It's just as simple as that. And since we've treated this, I believe that we've now understood the differences between proofreading and editing. So though a lot of us often mix those two or use them interchangeably, thinking editing is the same as proofreading. But thank you for the enlightenment, making us understand that they are not the same in any way. Anyways, in the absence of any other question, would like to remind us to stay tuned with us for another interesting package tomorrow. We will be looking at persuasive copywriting that attracts readers and buyers. And we will be having Anthony Akpan in the house. So let us keep a day with us. And if we have time and we want to pick up a challenge, and we are ready to pick up a challenge, we can join the facilitator for today's December edition of the Midas Pen. You can look up from his page for more details at Charles Ayebusi or on Facebook. You can see more details. The flyers were distributed during our last session. So we hope to see that more people take the opportunities that are available. Thank you so very much for your time tonight. In the theater. Have a good night rest. Good night, Mr. Charles. Thank you. Whoa, we have a question here.
Good night.
The convener has a question for you, Mr. Charles. Please, can you emphasize a bit the difference between proofreading and editing? Maybe he had a problem with his network, he didn't get you there.
Okay. I said earlier that proofreading has to do majorly with I want to remove errors from my work. I want to make sure that the work I'm giving out has no punctuation problems, no grammatical errors, my tenses are properly done, and all of that. That is proofreading. It's a surface job. Just anybody with good understanding of English can do it. And a lot of free software out there can actually do it. However, editing is a bit more in-depth. Not bit, it's real work. Actually, editing is more technical than the writing itself. Editing has to do with all the processes involved in beating that piece of work into shape to make it presentable, right? So that's what editing is all about. So editing involves the process of going all the way out to, I want to put because there are a couple of things I mentioned earlier. I want to make sure that I still just look at the differences again. One thing editing does is that it deals with clarity, transitions. It deals with narration. It deals with
Our facilitator has a bit of a challenge from his end. Kindly bear with us. I can see another question. Oh. Before our facilitator comes, Francisca, kindly hold on. Our facilitator will attend to your question once his network permits him to. They couldn't follow up well. Challenges, however, thanks for explaining the difference between reading a pronoun. Mr.
okay.
Charles, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Okay, I was trying to explain the differences, and I said editing has to do more with improving readability, while proofreading is just on the surface. I just want to make sure there are no errors. Proofreading is the work is done, it is perfect, just to make sure we dot the I's and cross the T's. However, editing is to improve the overall quality of the work. All right. So, and then this is usually done by somebody that is skilled. So, as you're learning to write, also learn to edit your work, also learn to edit other people's work. And to do that, make it a habit to edit work, edit adverts, edit maybe your own previous work or that of a client, that of a friend. Just look for it so that you apply these principles to them and see how much you can polish up that piece of work. All right. So I think I'll just stop there so that
we have
we can
another
close because
question
of.
from Francisca Amayo. She says, I couldn't follow up very well due to the network challenges. However, thanks for explaining the difference between editing and proofreading. Before now, I have always believed they ha, they are and have the same meaning. Thanks for the enlightenment. Well done, Mr. Ibosi. The convener says, thanks a Lord for the response. Well understood. Please, is it possible to share your slide with us so we can upload it on the page? The network didn't allow some persons to follow properly. This is from the convener.
Okay, yes. I promised that while the whole thing was going on, I will make it available within the next 24 hours, just to make sure I edit it so that there are no errors in it and you get the best out of it. So yes, within the next 24 hours, I will get it across to the moderator so that she can do the needful.
Okay, Jason Lawrence says, thanks so much, the facilitator. I couldn't join in good time because of the poor network. Thanks. Okay, I think that is with regards to the slide request. Thanks from the convener. Patricia, thank you very much. All right, audience, thank you. Audience in the house, kindly remember to always grant permission to StreamYard so we'd have a better interaction. We get to see your name when your comment drops. And keep a date with us tomorrow with Anthony Akang in the house for another insightful and interesting package. Mr. Charles, God bless you real good for sticking it out with us and being patient with us for all the stress I've given you. You're still here. Thank you so very much. Thank you. God bless you real good. In the absence of any more questions tonight, we will draw the curtains here. The slide will be on the page for all participants to view. Thank you so very much. Good night.